Welcome back to New York, everybody. We are on the 9th selection now, owned by the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins have about 7.5 minutes to go. And Mel, if it is indeed Brady Quinn, how do you analyze him?
I think when you
certainly production the last couple of years.
I tell you, that's the thing. And I think we talked about, was he overhyped a little bit? I think probably he was, and I think that hurt Brady Quinn because everybody thought he should be Superman every week, and he didn't have the talent around him to do that on a week-to-week basis against that kind of competition. I think you look at Brady Quinn's physical ability, doesn't have the howitzer for an arm, but his arm strength certainly good enough. A guy that has the size that you look for at 6'3.5", was 230 pounds, and you talk about poise in the pocket. Nothing phases this kid. He's pressured, still has the vision down the field to hit the open receiver, and a guy that has the ability, I thought, mechanically, that the NFL's looking for. Coached the last 2 years by Charlie Weiss, has the touch as well, getting the ball there to the tight end in the middle of the field. So I think he will come in as a finished product. People say he's a little robotic, the way Charlie Weiss coached him up there and what have you, but the bottom line is 69 touchdown passes and only 14 picks the last 2 years. A dramatic turnaround in his career from the first 2 years to the last two when Charlie Weiss was the head coach at Notre Dame. You watch him here. He recognizes what the secondary is doing in coverage, hits the open receiver there. Again, the tight end in that pattern, effectively utilized by Brady Quinn. Here again, ability to utilize feet in the pocket, bide a little time, and hit the receiver down the field. Everybody says he had Jeff Samardzija. He had Rima McKnight coming off an injury. Didn't have Anthony Fasano as tight end. Did not have Maurice Stovall, who was a key element as a junior. So I think when you look at Brady Quinn, yeah, he's not all world, but at worst, he will be a good, solid quarterback in the NFL. The bust factor with Brady Quinn, very limited or negated completely.
Since the retirement of Hall of Famer Dan Marino, here is your list in no particular order of Miami quarterbacks, including from Dartmouth, Jay Fiedler, Damon Heward, A.J. Feely, Ray Lucas, Brian Griese, Gus Frerotte, Parsley Sage and Time Rosenfels, Dante Culpepper, Joey Harrington, and Cleo Lemon. Hello. They're looking still, but you're looking for certain things, as you mentioned at the top of the show, for a quarterback to be a big success.
Right. To be great, there's three things. And we talk about leadership moxie. That's that ability to kind of take whatever they give you, wrap it up in a bag, put it over your shoulder, and I'm your guy. I'm taking it down the end zone. No matter what it is, he has that in spades. He also has what you call aptitude, the ability to go into the meeting room, take the film, take all the information. He's ready to play professional football on those 2 points in spades. That's why he's here in the top 10. The reason why he's fallen a little bit in my mind is the accuracy. He is a little bit more robotic, like you said, Mel. And when you talk about accuracy, it's accuracy in motion, not just when you have your feet set and everything's perfect. It's starting to move just slightly, and then how accurate you are. They all talk about his body strength and maybe he's too muscle bound or whatever else it is. In the end, like American Idol, you either are a great singer or you're not a great singer. You can teach accuracy a little bit, but at the end of the day, you either have it or don't, and that'll be the question for Brady Quinn.
Steve, on the accuracy part, I did have a lot of evaluators in the league, head coaches, general managers, mention the accuracy thing. Charlie Weiss, the Notre Dame coach, boy, you want to touch a nerve with him, mention that accuracy issue. This is a guy who was over 60% the last 2 years with them, and he says people evaluating tape don't know about the routes our receivers are running, that they're 2 yards short or 2 yards too deep, and that it makes Brady look more inaccurate, but that he believes that this guy, and Charlie Weiss told me this, that you will see him in that argument behind Peyton Manning and Tom Brady sometime in the next 2 or 3 years. He thinks he's going to jump up quickly into that argument.
He coached Tom Brady at New England, and he said to me, and he said it elsewhere, Charlie Weiss said, see a lot of Brady Quinn, see a lot of Tom Brady and Brady Quinn. That's pretty good on a resume. Susie?
3 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock, and Brady hasn't heard from the Dolphins. What's the comfort level there, though?
I don't know. I think the comfort level right now is just working with Coach Cameron. Had an opportunity to work with Terry Shea as well out in Arizona. I had a great rapport with both, and I think it'd be a good opportunity, to play for them and go down there and win some games.
What did Cam Cameron do with the interview process to see what kind of quarterback you are under pressure?
He actually would test me with small amounts of time to reiterate, my offense or their offense. He'd test me on a board. He sent me a playbook a few days ahead of time just to, kind of test me and see if I knew what I was going to be talking about.
Well, here's pressure right now for you, right? You'll know in a couple minutes. Let's go to Trey.
Yeah.
All right, right, Susie, thanks very much. Welcome into the NFL Live set, along with Mark Marshawn Salisbury, our quarterback, by the way, and Michael Smith, the man who knows everything. All right, let's assume that Miami does take him at number 9 here. It certainly seems like that's the way the mojo is going right now, Michael Smith. What does this do to all that trade talk that Miami had about getting Trent Green over from Kansas City? Is that still a viable option?
Well, yes, it is, because you would think that with the relationship that Trent Green has with Cam Cameron and Terry Shea, this will make a lot of sense to not have to throw Brady Quinn to the Wolves, have a bridge as far as a veteran quarterback to help him out that first year or so. But what this does is significantly hurt the leverage even further for Kansas City. Trent Green controls his own destiny in a sense, not renegotiate his contract with any other team. Everybody knows they eventually have to cut him. Now, Miami has a quarterback, and Sean, you say, well, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you were standing up at a second-round pick. Miami, give Randy Mueller credit, never came up from a 6. Now, where's your leverage?
Got to be Brady Quinn, and then you still got to go get Trent Green, but it does devalue what the Kansas City Chiefs are trying to do, and they obviously don't get what's going on right now. But yes, Quinn's not ready to start in the NFL as a rookie, and I can guarantee you the most underrated quarterback the last 4 or 5 years has been Trent Green. What a great bridge he'd be. Culpepper will be out. It'll be Trent Green, and it'll be Brady Quinn, and they will start in that order eventually, Mark.
And if that does happen, that's the best thing for Brady Quinn, is to get somebody that's going to teach you how to play the quarterback position at the next level. He's going to need that comfort factor for a year or two, and that's the only way I believe he's going to have long-term success in this league.
Well, I tell you what, if he is going to Miami, there is that legacy of number 13, Dan Marino.
Good
you
luck.
Saw the graphic and all those quarterbacks that have tried. If it is Brady Quinn, number 13's on your shoulder and in every billboard in Miami.
All right, fellas, the pick is in now here. The Miami Dolphins. Will this be the time? Sing the Notre Dame fight song. Or another songs. Because if he doesn't go here, we'll have that discussion in 20 seconds.
Mel mentioned he doesn't have a howitzer for an arm, but, you know, Cam Cameron in San Diego worked with 2 guys, Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers, who did not have howitzers for arms.
He's got to go here. This is a great spot for Brady Quinn. This is a great marriage.
We all agree. There it is.
With the 9th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Ted Ginn, wide receiver of Ohio State.
About time we had a surprise.
Surprise! Whoa, Nelly.
This, and you got to, up until this point, everything was fine with Brady Quinn. No question about it, because I think he understood this was a possibility of sliding to this spot. But now, we're looking at number 10 with Houston. You start going through the list of teams here who don't need a young franchise quarterback, and it can go pretty deep. You know, look at the Houston Texans. Well, they've got Matt Schaub there. The 49ers have Alex Smith. Buffalo Bills have J.P. Lossman. Rams have Mark Bolger. They're going to try and re-sign to a contract. Panthers, they brought in David Carter, back up Jake Del Holm. You go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They got Ben Roethlisberger. The Packers have Favre and Aaron Rodgers. I don't know, Jacksonville, maybe Jacksonville, but we don't think so. Cincinnati, Carson Palmer. Tennessee, Vince Young. The Giants, Eli Manning. Denver, Jay Cutler. Dallas Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys are picking 22, even though they have Tony Romo. All of a sudden, are they having a discussion in the Cowboys camp? What if Brady Quinn falls? Do we have to be ready?
In a word, more ridiculous. I mean, this guy falls in your lap and you're the Miami Dolphins. You don't have to trade up for him. He's there at 9. 1983, Dan Marino fell in your lap towards the end of the first round. You took him. Miami Dolphins needing a young quarterback, and they get Trent Green. Fine. He's an aging quarterback. You got a chance to get Brady Quinn at number 9, and you pass on him for Ted Ginn coming off a foot injury, not real polished as a wide receiver. You got to be kidding me.
I don't get it.
Well, it's a tough moment right now for Brady Quinn.
I don't like it.
Because I'll be honest with you, the expectations, the lowest expectations, which he would have been thrilled with, was going to number 9 in the Miami Dolphins.
But he shouldn't get discouraged. He should hang in there and not worry about those sorts of things. He may wind up in a better spot. You never know. The Dallas Cowboys, yeah, they got Tony Romo. Tony Romo, they invested money in. Not long term, not big money.
Well, the Dolphins are a pretty good system for Brady Quinn.
You know what? This is the curveball. And Ted Ginn was a player we talked about yesterday, as I thought was the one of the few first-round wild cards. You know, as a kick and punt returner, Mel, I mean, a year after Devin Hester just changed about 3 or 4 games that he played, and Ted Ginn can do the same thing. That's the opposite.
What he is, he's a fear factor player. There's no question. When he's on the field, he strikes fear in the hearts of a defensive player and the defensive coordinator. There's no question about that. This guy is a home run hitter. He's a great athlete coming out of high school. He's got tremendous speed. When he's healthy, you can make the argument he's one of the fastest players on the football field in every game you play. You see him here. The ability to take a play that's going nowhere and turn it into a huge play for the offense. Again, a guy not real big at 5'11 and a half, about 179 pounds. Really have a little trouble with press coverage in the NFL. A little unpolished in terms of route running. Drop a catchable ball every now and then, but on reverses, wide receiver screens, get the ball in his hands. Here in the return game, he's going to be special. Remember, in the national championship game, he had that kickoff return for a touchdown. All of a sudden, Ohio State's up 7-0. You think it's great for the Buckeyes. All downhill from there. He gets a foot injury. Didn't have the great 40 time during his workout. You could make the argument he's probably the 15th best player in this draft. You're picking 9th. You're Miami. You don't take the 15th best player. You better have him on your board in that top 6 or 7. I cannot make an argument that gets Ted Ginn that high up the draft board.
But Mel, they did lose Wes Welker to New England.
Oh, he fills a need. He fills a need.
No replace that. He reminds me of Joey Galloway or Terry Glenn when he was at Ohio State. Explosive, fast, on the football field, straight line. He can't go side-to-side lateral as well as you probably would like in a wide receiver. He's not as big, but they got the big receivers down in Miami.
We also know that Trent Green has been on their radar, but what if they don't make the trade for Trent Green? That means they may end up with Culpepper as their quarterback still. What does Culpepper do well? Throws the ball down the field, and Ted Ginn can stretch the field. I'm just trying to put the logic. I'm not agreeing with the pick.
I'm saying they have maybe John Beck and Trent Edwards are in this mix in the second round for Miami. Miami's got to get a young quarterback. They're in the same boat that Cleveland is to a certain extent. They have Fry and Anderson. They want to upgrade that. They could go young.
You saw the
Certainly
list.
The Detroit Lions.
Who's going to come to Miami and go in front of that statue of Dan Marino for his whole career and stand up to it and be the guy that's going to be a career guy in Miami? You've seen the list of guys over the last.
Well, you had to do it for Joe Montana.
You have to have a special guy. This is that kind of a kid that'll go down there and grab it and go by that statue every day and say, look, I can be Dan Marino. I just believe that you're going to have a unique guy to go down there and go by that statue every day, and Brady Quinn was one of those guys. If you're going to say that Trent Green is, at the last 5 years of his career, that's not a career guy. You're looking for somebody for the first time since Dan Marino to be that guy. Here he was sitting in the green room waiting for it. I
like Trent Edwards and you like John Beck, right?
I do both of them. So if
you're Miami and you know you can maybe Edwards or Beck in round 2, do you pass on Brady Quinn? I'd say absolutely no.
That's fine.
Well, this certainly is a surprise, as Brady Quinn was not selected by the Miami Dolphins. It doesn't seem to add up. He's with his girlfriend, Lindy Slinger. You know what? Better days are coming. He's had moxie. He's going to have to show it here. He will. He will.
This is the NFL Draft on ESPN, presented by Coors Light.
Jorge.
Yeah.
What's going on with your hat, man?
What's wrong with my hat, man?
I mean, it doesn't look like a ball player's hat. I mean, it looks all brand new, you know?
Just come out of the box. I'm a catcher, man. I never had to wear that thing.
You gotta bring this thing in. Hey, Wally. Wally. Hey, it's not what you think.
Hi, I'm Joe D'Amico. I have more than 20 years experience of keeping cars running longer and in good condition. Here's another tip that can help you. Dirty oil and filters can make your engine use more gas, and not having enough oil can lead to costly repairs. So check your oil level once a month and change your oil and filters every 6 months or 5,000 miles. Bring your car to the pros at Jackson Auto. We'll save you money, and if you find a better deal, we'll match it. It's that simple. We're the certified technicians at Jackson Auto Group.
Straight time, great deals.
Babble, Tune to channel 990 to watch this movie now. Time Warner Cable.
We are standing by at the world's fastest stock car facility in Talladega, Alabama, where later today, NASCAR's brightest stars will employ a different kind of drafting. Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch, and we're talking about 190-mile-per-hour laps here. You make the good decision in the draft, your name goes in the record book. You make the wrong decision, well, it could possibly cost you a career or cost your team its future. Live coverage coming your way on ABC at 2:30 Eastern Time today.
We've done this dance before, have we not?
First round selections.
San Diego Chargers select Eli Manning, cornerback, Mississippi. The New York Giants select Phillip Rivers, quarterback, North Carolina State.
The phone rings right here, and then agent Lee Steinberg is on the phone, and it happens to be the Steelers.
Aaron shouldn't get down. He didn't get worse this week.
Hopefully I get some of that good luck you had with Roethlisberger last year, and maybe somebody will call up and want me.
The National Football League invited Aaron Rodgers here because they, too, thought he would be gone by now.
Pick him. Let's go.
With the 24th selection in the 2005 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, California.
So is it Matt Leinart or is it Vince Young?
With the third choice in the 2006 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Vince Young, quarterback, University of Texas.
The fact that Norm Chow bought off on this pick and picked Vince Young says a lot about Vince Young.
So Matt Leinart will have to wait a little bit, and now there's the Leinart table. And Matt, look, they certainly weren't born yesterday. They were aware that this might happen, and now here's Arizona, as we suggested an hour ago, that's got to be the spot.
The Arizona Cardinals select Matt Leinart, quarterback, USC.
That Under Armour flashback takes us back over the generations, or a generation, to realize that the discomfort will come to an end for Brady Quinn here at some point. He waits. As you see, Houston's on the clock, 10th overall, as our draft coverage continues here on ESPN. We were talking with Tony Kornheiser and Ron Jaworski. The picks were kind of as scripted. The thing was pedestrian until this curveball hits. I want to hit two parts. The emotion in a second. First, the football. You watched every Brady Quinn pass on film. Why do you think he would be dropping past the top 10?
You know, I really do not know. He does have some flaws in his game. As I've looked at Brady Quinn, he has a tendency to be inaccurate at times. His deep ball flutters a little bit because it doesn't drive off his back foot. But those are correctable mechanical problems that coaches take care of in the National Football League. When you look at the full body of work of Brady Quinn, football means something to this guy. When you put a Brady Quinn in your huddle, in your locker room, you're getting a rock-solid football player, a rock-solid citizen that could be your quarterback for a decade. I thought he was a top 10 pick. Well, there still is one pick left, but I don't think Houston's going to take him.
Somebody could come up. Houston got Matt Schaub before the draft. That's why they exchanged with Atlanta for this pick. And as we wait for Houston, Tony, there's just the physical emotion of discomfort for the guy.
This is real drama now. This is human drama now. People know Brady Quinn. They've watched him for years at Notre Dame. He presents himself very well. He dressed up. He comes here. He expected to go already. It becomes sort of a car wreck, where as a viewer, you almost want to turn away. You feel sad for him. You sympathize with him. I think now you say, somebody please pick this kid.
Well,
you almost don't want to look.
Tony, you know coming in here, what is the draft? Is it an art? Is it a science? Or is it roulette? I think we're finding
here's
out
what
now
it is for him.
roulette.
For what it is for him right now is sad and disappointing. He wants to get picked.
It's something in the middle of all five descriptions you just had. Chris, somebody could come up and say, that's our guy and we want him. Back to you.
Well, that could be probably what's going to have to happen because, look, I mean, again, we put this up before, and maybe, fellas, we could put it back up again. Houston is next. They just traded for Matt Schaub. San Francisco went number one a couple of years ago, Alex Smith. Buffalo, they really looked like the way J.P. Lossman advanced last year. St. Louis Rams, well, Mark Bulger, there's a potential spot, but Bulger's not old, and he's certainly as productive as anybody in the league. Carolina, as you pointed out, well, you still have DeLone, but just got David Carr. And then Pittsburgh, Roethlisberger, Green Bay, Rodgers, well, Favre is still playing. Jacksonville is too young guy. Not that Brady Quinn is not as good as any of these that we mentioned, but these are teams that all of a sudden weren't considering.
What people out there watching are probably wondering, okay, we've seen Cleveland, Minnesota, and Miami, 3 teams that said you have to have a quarterback. Pass on Brady Quinn. What's wrong with Brady Quinn? And when you talk to different head coaches, general managers, scouts, the things, the negatives, and there was a lot of positives there, as you mentioned earlier, the accuracy, physically too amped up, you know. And I know Brady says, hey, he's limber, he doesn't have injuries, so that it's genetic in terms of how he looks. But also, there were evaluators in this league who said, I like John Beck of BYU more than Brady Quinn as the #2 quarterback in this draft, or Trent Edwards. It was pretty shocking to get the evaluations in on the quarterbacks and find out that Brady Quinn was not considered the #2 quarterback in this draft automatically.
However, but the greatest risk that you have from a college quarterback to a pro quarterback is that aptitude and moxie, that kind of the things that Brady Quinn has in spades. He lowers your risk. Yeah, physically there might be some issues, but coaching can do that a lot.
I know other evaluators that had him ahead of Jamarcus Russell. So I had him at 1.
I heard.
Meanwhile, Houston has made the pick. Houston, hello.
With the 10th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Amobi Okoye, defensive tackle, Louisville.
One of the most compelling stories that we have ever heard of in the draft. And there's Amobi Okoye, a young man born in Nigeria, came to this country and then, you know, came to this country, went into high school at 12 with that intelligence. College 16, he won't be 20, Mel, until June. Played at Louisville. Talk about intelligence and size and raw talent. The youngest senior in Division 1A. I mean, he's still a boy.
And the thing is, but when you look at Amobi Okoye this past season, how he turned it up, not just one notch, but numerous notches in that backfield a lot. Quick, explosive, athletic kid. The concern with Amobi Okoye is he a one-year guy? I mean, you go back to 2 years ago, 26 tackles only, 1 sack and 2 tackles for loss. This year, 55 tackles, 8 sacks, and 15 stops behind the line of scrimmage. You're talking about a guy who went from being an average player to a great player all in one season. Amobi Okoye did that. He was one of the most dominant players all year along the defensive line in all college football. 19 years of age. His weight fluctuated a lot. He was 305, 310, then showed up at the Senior Bowl at 287. So as a 19-year-old defensive tackle coming in, turns 20 in June, can he maintain his weight around that 310, 315 mark, and will he build on that 1 year? So size, only 6'1.5", at 305, hopefully, and that 1 year type of situation. That was the concern that some people had. But quickness, strength, and production this year was definitely what Amobi Okoye stood for.
Well, youngest player ever drafted would be Amobi Okoye. I mean, by far. Now, high school in Huntsville, Alabama, 12 years old. I don't even know what an amazing story.
You know what's encouraging, too, here is, you know, there was a lot of noise made when there was a leak about guys who admitted they smoked marijuana at the Indianapolis Scouting Combine, and 3 players were identified as having admitted, even though they never tested positive. One was Calvin Johnson of Georgia Tech. One was Gaines Adams of Clemson. The other was Amobi Okoye. All 3 of these guys not affected in the eyes of teams, proving they do have character. They were all taken in the top 10. In fact, Bobby Petrino, who's the Falcons head coach now, was the Louisville head coach, told me that Amobi Okoye never tested positive at Louisville for marijuana. So it shows that even though there may have been a motive to get these guys to drop, their character spoke through well for them.
Although he is young, he can grow into that defensive line that just drafted Mario Williams last year, and they can all grow together with a young organization. And
one thing, too, Travis Johnson, a first-round pick by the Texans back in 1995, a defensive tackle, major disappointment. So if they would have hit on Travis Johnson a couple years ago, all of a sudden they would have not had to draft Amobi Okoye here.
Well, we're 10 picks into the draft, and Brady Quinn, quarterback, Notre Dame, hasn't been one of them. The 49ers will be the busiest team. Coming up next.
All new. I've been seeing Carlos. You're lying. What? You always laugh like that when you're telling a lie.
4 all-new episodes.
4 Sundays in a row, leading to an explosive season finale.
I am totally, hopelessly in love with 2 men.
All new Desperate Housewives, Sunday at 9/8 Central, followed by an all-new Brothers and Sisters only on ABC.
This game has not yet been rated.
Move. Heads up! Ready up.
Radio City Music Hall in New York City. Brady Quinn not yet selected here as the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock with pick number 11. Quarterback did go number 1 for the 8th time in the last 10 years, and that was Jamarcus Russell. He went to the Raiders. Now, the 2 stud corners, Leon Hall, Michigan, Darrell Revis, Pitt. They've yet to be selected. Patrick Willis, much written about and talked about linebacker from Mississippi. He may go next. Adam Carricker, defensive end. You know exactly what you're going to get when you pick him, the defensive end from Nebraska. Some of the names we'll be hearing, waiting for the call. Waiting for our call would be Trey Wingo at NFL Live. Trey?
All right, Boomer, thanks very much. NFL Live said here, along with Mark May, Sean Salisbury, and Michael Smith. Guys, Amobi Okoye is a great story on many levels. 19 years old. He's going to be a player now for the Houston Texans. Got Mario Williams on one side of him. Mark May, I don't think you're really enamored with this pick and this player.
No, I'm not. I think his size is a big factor in this decision, and I think his age. Obviously, at 19, 20 years old, he's going to be going against 25, 30-year-old men that are physically mature in the NFL. Will he be able to hold up? At 6'1", 275 pounds after the season, he blew up to 300 pounds for the combine. I don't know physically and mentally if he's mature enough to handle it at the next level. Everybody says down the road, Amobi Okoye will be a tremendous player. This is the NFL. It's win now or it's not for long. In college, yes, he was special. He was quick. But as an every down player in college, no, he wasn't that type of player. We're going to find out very shortly this fall if he can hold up. But I still think, John, it's a disadvantage right now to think he's going to come in and play this fall.
Well, he'll play this fall, Mark, with
play well.
Mario Williams. Now, Mario Williams didn't play great last year either. Now, I'm not enamored with the pick, but at 19 years old, at 6'2", 300-plus pounds, you get a guy inside with a low center of gravity who can take a double team off Mario Williams, and you're trying to build something because you cannot build a defensive line with just one guy or two guys. You must have a lot of them. And as far as the age goes, what I do like about this is a lot of times those grown men we're talking about are uncoachable and set in their ways. A 19-year-old kid, you get a good coach that comes in there and teaches him some techniques that he can learn. I don't mind that he's not 6'5". I'd prefer to have him low center of gravity. I think this is a good pick. The Texans shocked me last year. Yeah. This isn't overly shocking to me because I think the kid can play, and as a teenager, he's still got a lot to learn.
Well, my only observation is the amount of Bob McNair's money, that's the Houston Texans owner, the amount of his money that's invested in this defensive line. Mario Williams, the #1 overall pick last year. A couple of years ago, they take Travis Johnson in the first round out of Florida State. They signed Anthony Weaver from Baltimore to a big contract. They trade up to get Jason Babin. Now you add a guy like Amobi Okoye. That's a lot of money on that front line. What about the linebackers? How about the Nico Ryans?
And what about one other thing? and I know there's nobody worthy of this pick now as an offensive lineman since Brown and Thomas are gone. But, man, Matt Schaub's not exactly mobile either. He's a good player. But you better keep him standing upright, or that'll be $40+ million. It doesn't mean a thing.
That's why David Carr is no longer there backing up Jake Delhomme in Carolina.
And the bottom line about Okoye, as a former offensive lineman, when I see a 6'2", 19-year-old kid in front of me, I want him across the line for me because I'm going to show him how to play.
Then you're going to whip him and make him play Xbox the next day.
There you go. I'm going to make sure that he's across from me every single play in that football.
Basically, you're licking your chops when you see somebody that young, right?
Yes, absolutely. That young, that inexperienced, and that small.
But the good news is, as you said, Sean, he is willing to learn, and look, he could still grow at 19.
Pro Bowl at 22.
Boomer, let's send it back to you.
All right, guys, thank you very much. Back here in New York, the San Francisco 49ers are on the clock. They are among a few teams that have 10 picks. They have 2/3, 4/4 in addition to their 1 and 2. So top-heavy draft coming up for them. Now, though, let's go to Susie in the green room where things changed.
Well, Chris, here's what we just learned. We all expect Brady Quinn, quarterback from Notre Dame, to have a long wait at this point. So NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell has invited him into a private area, into a private suite that he has here that's off limits to the media. So at least Brady and his family will have some privacy from the cameras for at least a little while, and in just a little bit we'll touch base with his agent, Tom Condon. Now, at the total opposite end of the spectrum is the warp speed of the young man, Amobe Okoye. It seems he's been going at warp speed since he was 19 years old. He makes history here today. Right now, let's go back to Chris.
All right, Susie, thank you. So the 49ers. All right, by the way, first of all, that's exactly the right thing to do with Brady Quinn.
Yeah, no,
get him out of there.
Get him. There's no question.
Get him out of there.
It's smart for Tom Condon to do that. Just get him off until he gets picked and then come out and be excited.
And now,
sit there all day is crazy.
Now the dollar and cents changes, but you're going somewhere else where you're going to get good teams.
Find a great team and have a great career.
I'm with you on this.
In many ways.
The next 5 selections, and here are the starting quarterbacks, of course, we talked about. Rams could be a slot. Not to replace Bolger, but they could be a slot for Brady.
Let's put Mr. Keyshawn Johnson on the spot here. We're looking at Carolina. Okay, Jake Delhomme is in his 30s. They got David Carr, but it was only a 2-year contract. What about the Panthers for a Brady Quinn possibility?
Well, I think that what we're trying to do at 14 is pick the best available player. And if he's there at 14, I don't see why we would pass him up. I know we need defensive players, and Jake can still play this game, but you do need 2 or 3 quarterbacks in this league.
Why does it make sense to you? If the Carolina Panthers did take Brady Quinn.
Well, I tell you why it makes sense right now, just the top of my head. Charlie Weiss, Coach Fox, and our new offensive coordinator are all friends. They know each other.
Jeff Davidson's the new offensive coordinator.
Jeff Davidson's our new offensive coordinator. We run a similar system that what the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, as I would say, runs. So for him to come to us, Steve Smith, obviously myself, can help him out mature. He'll have Steve later on down the line. And then you pick another receiver later on in the draft to replace me as I segue out of this thing.
And Davidson worked with Charlie Weiss together with the New England Patriots. That's simply, Boomer. I mean, we've speculated all along. Brady Quinn's going to Miami, so we're reaching here. But Carolina, we kind of dusted over when we said as potential teams, we probably need to keep.
What about teams at the bottom of the first round that didn't expect this? Yeah, they're going to say, this is Brady Quinn's available here in the middle of the first round. Let's put something together and go get this kid. So I'm assuming that there's going to be some action right around now, around the St. Louis, Carolina pick if they don't go with Brady Quinn. For teams like Chicago, even Baltimore, you look around down there, like Kansas City. Why wouldn't they try to make a move for Brady Quinn, never thinking that he could actually fall all the way to the middle of the first round?
All right, let me just point something out now, Steve. This is a very special part of the draft, though. The San Francisco and Buffalo were picking back-to-back. I thought I'd point that out. And the San Francisco 49ers, for the first time in a while, have a lot to be eager about. And Alex Smith had a big year, although he lost Norv Turner, who's now the head coach at the San Diego Chargers. Now, they obviously have to shore up their defense. Mike Nolan is the defensive coach. But including in that 7-9 record is a sweep of the division champ Seattle Seahawks. They signed Nate Clements to big money. He's a big-time corner. Michael Lewis, the big hitter, former strong safety of the Philadelphia Eagles. They have Frank Gore as pounding a running back as you can have. And so Vernon Davis hurts some. We've yet to see what he can do on offense. And another #1 last year, Manny Lawson, looked like he could be a player on the come at linebacker. 49ers have a chance in this division to move. And I think they move, well, I mean, they spent big money for a corner, but my goodness, here's defensive players there, Steve.
There's no question about it. The biggest issue the 49ers have as an organization is their stadium. And to get a stadium, I think they want a winner, and they want to win now. Mike Nolan is very, very methodical. He's taking the full 15 minutes, but I think you can write down Patrick Willis just in blood right now, because I think Mike Nolan loved Patrick Willis at the Senior Bowl. I think he's a great addition for a great spot here for the team. It'd be interesting to see how this plays out, but I think you can write down Patrick Willis.
All right, the pick is in, the 49ers. As we said, plenty of picks in the top 4 rounds. Here's their first round selection.
With the 11th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Patrick Willis, linebacker, Mississippi.
Well, Patrick Willis makes many a tackle.
They're putting together, you look at the draft the last 3 or 4 years, the Frank Gores and the Alex Smiths, these are quality people too. They're going down and finding great character guys who are very talented and putting them together. Slowly but surely, San Francisco is getting back from what I call a restart. It was like a new, there was so much turnovers, not only just players, but personnel, everything in the year 2000, that this team was actually an expansion team in many ways. And they're doing it very methodically. Give Coach Nolan a lot of credit for continuing to draft so well.
Mel, 265 tackles over the last 2 seasons, the Butkus Award winner.
And no question, Boom, the productivity, the speed. You see on that particular highlight, you see a guy runs a 4.49 at 6'1½", 240 pounds. Once he ran that 40, eyes were open to say, hey, this guy's just not a productive college linebacker. This guy has skills that are off the charts. Then he vertical 39 inches. Great athleticism. He only got 137 tackles this past season. 13 against Arkansas, 15 against Auburn, and 12 against LSU. You watch him here. Multi-dimensional. Can fill that inside hole, that inside lane, deliver that form tackle, and a guy that I think was not, when you really look at him, protected by a great defensive front. This is not Tennessee. This is not Florida. This is not Georgia's defensive line. It's Ole Miss. This guy had to take on guards and centers, yet floated the football. Diagnostic ability, very, very, very good. And I think when you look at Patrick Willis, what he does here, he solidifies an inside linebacker spot in a 3-4. Brandon Moore's done well. You look at Derek Smith coming off the injury list. All of a sudden, the inside linebacker spot for this 3-4 team, Mort, is solidified.
Well, we kind of just brushed over this whole idea that Norv Turner is no longer their offensive coordinator. He went to San Diego Chargers as their head coach. I got to ask Steve. I said, Alex Smith was making progress. To lose a Norv Turner going into your 3rd year, I still think it's the biggest question mark this team has going into the season.
I think so, because the question mark will remain about Alex Smith, because Alex Smith will not make or break the team, but his continued development is so important to the overall development of the team and to that stadium that we're talking about. There's a lot of issues at play here, and I think he did love Norv Turner, and I think that question mark will be until the beginning of the season. But Alex is a mature kid. He's got a lot of help at running back. When you turn around and you can play action with Frank Gore, you can really make a lot of strides regardless of who's coaching you.
All right, so the 49ers have taken the side linebacker, Patrick Willis. It's a very interesting debate going on with the Buffalo Bills right now. We'll explain it when we return to New York.
We got 30 points out, buddy.
Drop.
Not to worry. Yes, the team is with me. We got it covered.
Who's he talking to?
The boss.
I thought the boss was at a board meeting.
He is at a board meeting. They're asking about our global integration plan.
Do not worry.
Do we have a global integration plan?
It's more like a DAC.
A DAC?
A draft, really.
A DAC is only a draft?
Afraid so.
It's not only doable, it's practically done. We better get started.
Dear rookies, last year when I wasn't picked first, I was a little upset. But a year later, after the city of New Orleans opened their arms to me, we brought them their first ever NFC South Championship. So I want to take this opportunity to say one thing to those people who passed on me. Thanks. Welcome to Madden NFL 08. Product not yet rated. EA Sports. It's in the game.
Honey? I think this might be our lucky day.
I think it might be.
I think this is what we've been waiting for.
I think it is.
Yes! It turned blue!
Introducing the Coors Light Cold Activated Bottle. The mountains turn from white to blue when your beer reaches the perfect temperature.
It's blue like your eyes.
My eyes are green!
Only from Frost Brewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer.
Weeknights, ESPN News keeps you current. Warm up with pregame analysis. Stay up to date with Game Time live look-ins and a recap of the night's action on postgame. Weeknights starting at 7, only on ESPN News.
Sunday, 2 National League Central rivals clash.
Let's go!
Hot-hitting Derek Lee looks to keep the Cubs on pace with Albert Pujols and the world champion Cards. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, 8 Eastern.
ESPN's coverage of the NFL Draft is brought to you by Hummer, proud sponsor of the 2007 NFL Draft. Hummer, like nothing else. And IBM, what makes you special?
Right now it is the story of the draft as well as our poll question of the draft. Will Brady Quinn fall as far in 07 as Aaron Rodgers did in 05 when he went 24th? Right now it is about a 50-50 split on where Brady Quinn will go and how far he will fall. Welcome into the NFL Live set. Trey Wingo alongside Mark May, Sean Salisbury, and Michael Smith. Miami passed, and Brady Quinn is still there. Michael, you've talked to a lot of teams, a lot of front office people. What are they telling you about what they didn't like about Brady Quinn?
Well, the talent evaluators that I've spoken to, what they say about Brady Quinn is this: it's see a guy who's solid but not special, maybe not worth the 10, 12, 15, even $20 million, depending on how high he's picked, excess over a guy like a Trent Edwards or a Drew Stanton or a John Beck. What are you paying for? There have been a lot of criticism about him, his inaccuracy that they're seeing on film, his performance in big games, the hype at Notre Dame, and as ridiculous as it sounds, guys, even the name Brady. Some people who don't like him say they think he's getting overhyped because his name is Brady. His first name is Brady.
3 things I know about this. 1 is that he's not very accurate. 2 is that I know Charlie Weiss is a great coach, and if Charlie even had him longer, it'd be a big help, and I trust Charlie. And 3 is he's disappeared in some big games, has Brady Quinn. 15 of 35 for a $148, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions against LSU. And then last year in the bowl game, did not play well against Ohio State, no touchdown passes, and they got hammered in both. Brady Quinn's an average accuracy thrower right now.
And he gets rattled in big games, and I've covered college football the last few years at ESPN, and I said that the last few years about Brady Quinn. In the big games, when you rattle him, he doesn't perform very well. Bottom line is, everybody thinks Charlie Weiss is a genius as a coach, great coordinator, great quarterback coach. What's the upside to Brady Quinn?
Still a steal at this point, though.
At this point, you have to wonder if he'll go maybe to Dallas at 22. Meanwhile, the pick at number 12 is in. Let us go back to New York. Chris Berman has it. Boomer, hello. What are they going to do in Buffalo?
Well, they have a debate, and we'll find out in a minute, but you see us all wearing the VT for Virginia Tech, and they had Frank Beamer and some of the alums that are in the league here with a speech and a recognition just before the start of this draft. As famous football playing alum as ever come out of Virginia Tech or anywhere else, the #1 overall pick in the draft in 1985 was Bruce Smith. He was one that was here. So Bruce Smith is going to announce his old team, the Buffalo Bills' first pick here. And their debate is, do they go running back or the 2 best corners? Neither have been selected, and they lost one. Here's Bruce.
God bless the Hokies. With the 12th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Buffalo Bills select Marshawn Lynch, University of California, running back.
Very interesting. Very interesting. There's some Bills fans here. The 2 corners, Leon Hall and Darrell Revis, are sitting there and have gone a little farther down already. We'll get to it in a minute, Mel, than they thought. However, they lost Willis McGahee, and they need, I know that Dick Geron feels, we must support our young quarterback, J.P. Losman, with something. And how about a back that enjoys bowling over people and wants to bowl 100 times a game.
Boom, very physical runner. You talk about Adrian Peterson and his style in terms of breaking tackles, getting yards after initial contact. That's exactly what Marshawn Lynch does. Not super elusive, but he's got pretty good feet. I think when you look at a guy that powerful, a guy that really at 5'11", 215, takes on defenders. This guy loves a challenge of somebody trying to get him in the open field one-on-one. Did a real good job of that fast. Well, for a kid 215 pounds, ran a 4.46 at the combine, vertical 35.5 inches. Catching the ball for Jeff Tedford out of the backfield became more of a factor this past season. Had 34 catches this past year that matched his total from the previous 2 seasons combined. You see him here at the end of the game. You don't like to necessarily see that because you watch him come pretty close to some people there. A little dangerous, but I think when you look at Marshawn,
he wanted more carries.
But when you look at Marshawn Lynch, I think the Buffalo Bills' dilemma here was you lose Nate Clements. Do you take Leon Hall, cornerback out of Michigan, or Darrelle Revis, cornerback out of Pitt? You lost London Fletcher in free agency, but Patrick Willis is gone. So I think it got down to a debate. The 2 corners or the running back. And as you said, Boom, having J.P. Lossman probably led them to believe, hey, if we want Lossman to continue developing as he showed last year, we got to get Marshawn.
Well, there are lots of changes here, but they have the A-Train who ran for Dick Geron when they won a division a few years back in Chicago. Other than that, you know, you're looking at the 06 depth chart. There's space there. Once upon a time, and this is a history story, Marv Levy coached at Cal. Now, that was a long time ago. Joe Kapp was the quarterback. That's a long time ago, but here's a running back from Cal.
Well, that's a long time ago. Here's the thing about it. It's interesting. Marv Levy's now the general manager, and everybody's been saying he's going character, character, character. Well, Marshawn Lynch is the first guy who had some character red flags in this draft that some people said, well, wait a minute, what is it? But I talked to a head coach from another team last night, and he was comfortable with Marshawn Lynch. Says, you know, he's an inner city kid. He's a tough kid. He looked me in the eye. He was respectful and what have you, but some teams were a little bit cool on him. Now, it's interesting. Steve Fairchild is the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. Spent some time with the Rams. I have heard comparisons to, you know, a poor man's Marshall Faulk, Marshawn Lynch, because of his ability to run and catch the football, Mel.
I'll tell you, he's got talent. No question about it. I think for the Green Bay Packers, that's where we said at pick 16, the Green Bay Packers have a running back issue with Amon Green moving on to the Houston Texans. Oh, they're going to take Marshawn Lynch. Well, the Buffalo Bills, I believe, would have taken Patrick Willis here had he still been there, but he wasn't. He went to the 49ers 1 pick earlier.
Remember what I said. They need to, if Lossman a year ago with Buffalo, boy, is he going to even start? We even have Holcomb. We brought in Craig. No. Now they're convinced that J.P. Lossman made strides. Now, yes, they need some other help at receiver, etc. But let's give him some help. They just signed 3 offensive linemen for free agency.
Look at the division. It's not like you're going to have to score a ton of points. I mean, a big threat, put some points on the board on the road. Buffalo could steal the division. I mean, that's how close this division is.
And he's shredded the Pac-10 conference. Let's face it, the guy can play in the backfield. He can play multiple positions in the offense. He's split wide, catches some balls in the flats, can go vertical on linebackers. So they got a safe pick here for them.
Willis McGahee said, yeah, maybe the franchise should move to Toronto. It didn't. They moved McGahee to Baltimore. Marshawn Lynch is moving from Oakland, where he grew up, to Buffalo. All right, follow all that? St. Louis is next.
On Friday, May 18th, a new game will have America screaming one thing. America's biggest bingo game begins Friday, May 18th.
Pull that trigger.
And everyone can play along.
You're a winner.
But no one wants to hear those 2 words.
No bingo.
Fridays are National Bingo Night. Premieres May 18th, only on ABC.
The pressure's rising on the road to the NBA Finals. Tonight, Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony lead the Nuggets back to Denver, where Tim Duncan and the Spurs can regain home court with a win in Game 3. Then, with the Rockets up 2-1 behind Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming, the Jazz look to even the series. The NBA playoffs continue tonight on ESPN, with Game 3 between the Spurs and Nuggets at 8 Eastern, followed by Rockets Jazz Game 4 at 10:30.
I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. Lunch, we've been tight for a long time. Dinner, I couldn't do it without you. But I gotta say, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And that's why I'm serving breakfast all day.
Yes! I've always heard people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, but coming from you, Jack, this is just awesome!
The most important meal. Served all day.
Well, that...
When it comes to choosing a career, consider the laborers and union contractors. When you think of the laborers, think construction, healthcare, landscaping, environmental services, and much more. With the time-honored practice of apprenticeship, you'll be trained in starting a dynamic new career as a laborer. The laborers, with its great benefits of employment security and training opportunities, will provide you valued skills. You can have a secure career in the construction industry. The laborers are now recruiting and training statewide.
Welcome back to the 2007 NFL Draft, presented by Coors Light.
Back here in New York, the St. Louis Rams on the clock, 13th overall pick of this draft as we are about 2.5 hours through. Of course, we have the storyline of Brady Quinn still waiting to be selected. And the first 12 picks, for those of you just tuning in, Jamarcus Russell at the top, taken by the Raiders. Jaws, what do you think of the Calvin Johnson Lions pick?
I absolutely love that pick. We would think that when you look at Detroit, they would go defense. Rod Marinelli, the head coach, they need help on defense, that they would go in that direction. But the fact they went Calvin Johnson, I love it. They get a quarterback in the second round. They build that offense.
Let's keep spinning you through the 12. Joe Thomas out of Wisconsin to the Browns. Tony has a thought on that momentarily. Gaines Adams to the Buccaneers at the 4 slot. We move to picks 5 and 6. Levi Brown, second offensive tackle. LaRon Landry, the safety, to make a dynamic safety deal potentially in Washington. Adrian Peterson, the running back, goes down to Minnesota at 7. Jamal Anderson, 8 to Atlanta. And then at the 9th spot, everybody waiting for Brady Quinn to be selected. 10 Gid from Ohio State goes there. Moby Okoye, the youngster, truly the youngster of this draft, goes to Houston. Patrick Willis, the linebacker, to San Francisco. And Buffalo tries to replace Willis McGahee with Marshawn Lynch. That gets you up to date. And give me your impressions here as we sit 2.5 hours.
Well, you mentioned Joe Thomas.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a real big story. I think I speak for Jaws as well. We're thrilled that the kid went fishing with his dad. I mean, there's a lot of criticism that says you need to be in New York for the draft. I don't know how many chances you get once you're drafted to go fishing with your dad. I just thought it was a wonderful gesture on his part, because there are no coaches here, there are no general managers here. He doesn't have to be here. I'm sure his dad is thrilled that he went fishing with him. And by the way, I think it'll make him some more money, because linemen, people don't know linemen, and they're going to know this kid.
Well, you know, when you see that shot there and you think of Brady Quinn and what he's had to do, just a point here, an observation, as Roger Goodell and the league made the opening and the offer to take Brady Quinn out of the green room and behind closed doors where he could be somewhat in private. Since Roger Goodell was handed the reins after Paul Tagliabue's very efficient and very good run in the NFL, there's been a people-first almost step forward by the league, and there's an example of it right there. And hey, Brady Quinn's a big boy. He had the option to come here or not come here, chose to. The league saying, if you want to just avoid more embarrassment with NFL Network and ESPN cameras in your face, go to the back. You can have this moment in private. It's a sample of this league showing that it cares about people, which may not have been there before, and I think that's just a smart foot forward. And Rodgers hit a lot of singles and doubles so far.
I think that's merciful, and I think that's what a dad might do.
The right move.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the right way to go. Now, he's following two of the greatest commissioners in history, Pete Rozelle and Paul Tagliabue, and everything he does seems to be proactive. And the main thing, understanding, not Brady Quinn, the main thing is understanding people want to know that the players who play in this league are good citizens.
Right.
And he's been way out front on that.
And you said dads, because it's funny, you talk about Joe Thomas, you talk about the commissioner, Roger Goodell, dad. I said his 2 daughters are back there waiting for the restroom as I was waiting for the restroom. But that sensitivity is part of what's going on here.
You made them wait for the restroom?
I waited
you didn't
for
get ahead of them?
They're 2 little girls. Don't get me started.
You're a star.
4 months away from you. It'd be wonderful. We have St. Louis waiting on the clock with pick 13 overall in the 2007 NFL Draft as we continue from New York. And after St. Louis, Carolina, Pittsburgh, Packers, Jags, Bengals, your teams follow.
Russell Athletic, ESPN Arena Football, Mondays, all season long on ESPN2.
Ditka, did you really say you'd trade all your draft picks for a case of frost-brewed Coors Light?
I mean, I didn't say it in those general terms, but I said it like that.
Okay, well then what about the teams that didn't trade for Coors Light?
You know, they're behind everybody else right now, and they have to catch up.
Coach, are you sure you're not confusing the NFL draft with draft beer?
Well, I'm going to keep them lose my trainer. Who?
Frost Brewed Coors Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Coach, I thought he couldn't see. Is this cool?
He doesn't seem as comfortable there for some reason.
I think this hot fudge shake combined with the Oreos is the #3 top invention in all of history.
What are the first two?
Well, #1 is the doorbell, and #2 is still open. I mean, it's anybody's game.
It's not like the radio or the telephone like that.
Not that I know of. But this thing's cool. What's this?
It's a visor.
All right, #2.
Hot fudge shake made with Oreo cookies. New at Sonic. A favorite childhood cookie blended with hot fudge into a cool, creamy treat. Pay the Sonic way. Swipe your credit or My Sonic card from your car.
Hey, rookies, you want some advice? Take everything you want to do next season and write it down. Like be a starter, or set an NFL record, or make the Pro Bowl. But you still would never put, I'm gonna run the opening kickoff of the Super Bowl back for a touchdown. Now your wildest dreams. Welcome to Madden NFL 08, product not yet ready. EA Sports, it's in the game.
Do you really need that 100,000 BTU grill? Or that 7.1 channel home theater system? Do you really need a motor oil that protects for 15,000 miles?
You bet.
Mobil 1 Extended Performance. Its proven anti-wear technology is guaranteed to protect your engine for 15,000 miles. 5 times longer than traditional oil change intervals. Mobil 1 Extended Performance.
Back in New York, the St. Louis Rams have made their pick. The 8-8 Rams, year 2 under Scott Linehan.
With the 13th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the St. Louis Rams select Adam Carricker, defensive end, Nebraska.
Of course, reminiscent a little bit of once upon a time when the St. Louis Rams took a Nebraska defensive end named Grant Wistrom. He's a little bit bigger, but they know exactly what they get with him. This is a team that had offense. Mark Bulger had a huge year, the 4th-ranked passing offensive football, but now 31 against the rush.
You look at him, 6'6", 298 pounds. You watch him here getting in after the quarterback. That's Tyler Palko from Pitt getting the sack there, and I think he really benefited. You watch from a technique standpoint. A couple years with John Blake, their former defensive line coach, one of the best in the business. John Blake developed Leon Lett at the Dallas Cowboys. He's now under Butch Davis at North Carolina with the Tar Heels, and you watch his ability to get after the quarterback improve. The last 2 years, 9.5 sacks as a junior, 7 this past season, a career high 52 tackles as well this past year. And the fact of the matter is, he can play defensive end or he can move inside the defensive tackle. So I think that versatility that Adam Carricker brings to the defensive line position for a St. Louis team that brought in James Hall from Detroit. Now they get a guy who has the ability to play either spot.
And the Rams got pushed around a lot last year under Jim Haslett, their defensive coordinator. And I know Haslett's been in that building saying defense, defense, defense. And Carricker was a safe guy. Some people said, well, you know, his ceiling isn't that high. You know, a guy who hold up against the run, who's got good enough speed to get to the quarterback when necessary. They, too, are building a base, trying to rebuild that defense.
Again, a dome team that recognizes if I can put pressure on the quarterback at home with the noise, I can win a lot of football games. And I really believe that if I was a general manager of a team in the dome, that's my pick. I want a defensive lineman that can get off the ball at home.
Not only that, St. Louis knows that they're in a division where they throw the football an awful lot.
One thing about Adam Carricker we should point out, we had this with Jamal Anderson, right? He was a different sort of player. Adam Carricker was a high school senior quarterback in Kennewick, Washington. So he's kind of gone over, as our good friend Brian Billick would say, to the dark side.
And he's got good character, too.
Carricker has good character. Say that 3 times fast. Absolutely. So the next team on the clock is the Carolina Panthers. So while Brady Quinn waits on his call, now we have yet to see either of the corners, Leon Hall or Darrell Revis. I mean, which is a surprise to some. Of course, Cincinnati's one team sitting there salivating a few picks down for a corner. Greg Olsen, the tight end, he's maybe the one first rounder in some team's mind. Do you want, he catches beautifully, he doesn't block so well. Some team might need a slot type tight end, but now your team, Keyshawn, the Carolina Panthers, are on the clock. First of all, there is talk Chris Jenkins, one of the stalwarts, big on the defensive line, could be on the block, the trading block. That's one part. Where do you guys need help?
I think we need help in a lot of different areas. We got an older secondary in terms of the safety positions. Mike Mitchell's announced that he's going to retire later on next season, and then he can mentor a guy if we do, in fact, take a safety at this spot. Tied in, I think, at this point is a little reach for us, or wide receivers a little reach for us. But we also, I believe, want to draft the best available player in this spot. And right now on your board, probably, Mel, is probably Brady Quinn.
Brady Quinn is certainly the best player on the board, no question about that. They also have a desperate need, the Carolina Panthers do, for a safety, a playmaking safety like an Ed Reed. And you go not to the Miami program for Brandon Merriweather, you go to the Florida Gator program for Reggie Nelson, a guy that has really gained some momentum. When you go back and look at film of Reggie Nelson, can play corner, can play safety, but you know he's on the field. Smart football player, real instinctive, and shows up big at key points.
Well, let's go over this again. So you're the one who's thrown out Brady Quinn as a possibility if they go best player available. And let's repeat, Jeff Davidson's their new offensive coordinator. Worked with Charlie Weiss in New England. However, I do...
Well, I think I have a hint of what this is.
I think we got some action.
We have some action, and the Jet fans have woken up. So we'll let them announce the trade first. And I'm just saying that Eric Mangini probably stared at that board and said, what? Hall and Revis? Really?
Well, I know Carolina was interested in trading back. It was their goal to trade back. It's hard to find a partner sometime, but it was their goal to trade back, and obviously they've done that.
And the New York Jets, remember, they don't want to get Trump for corners over the New England Patriots. There's a little thing that's there. New England looking at corners as well, so they want to get the best corners in the same division. Right now, they're with Hank Poteet and Dyson at the corner position, so they want to get stronger there.
And we haven't had a corner taken off yet. That's kind of, it's a little bit different.
I'm surprised Leon Hall. I think you look at the Houston Texans, as I said, defensive tackle, because Travis Johnson, a first-round pick in 1995, hadn't panned out. They went away, Houston did, from corner, which they really need. Didn't take Leon Hall. Instead took Amobi Okoye. That has pushed Leon Hall down to the point where he becomes very attractive. We talked about Cincinnati at 18. They got to, up until now, would have felt pretty good that they're going to get Hall or Darrelle Revis out of Pittsburgh. Now, if the Jets go corner, it becomes a little iffy.
Well, let me just think that it's very nice that on the day that we bring Keyshawn Johnson to sit here at the draft, that his current team has traded with his original team. I just think it's nice.
That's good. It's good.
Symmetry. Now here we go, the Jet fans, who all of a sudden, you know, we're going to pick at some point in about 4 or 5 in the afternoon. They can't believe that these corners are on the board. I'm telling you.
And the thing is, too, guys, if Kellen Clemens wasn't taken in round 2 last year, they would have traded up. You'd be saying Brady Quinn's going to be the pick here. But they have Kellen Clemens out of Oregon, who they took in the 2nd round last year, and feel like he's going to be a pretty good quarterback in this league.
And the thing about the Jets is they do like Kellen Clemens, and they also think Chad Pennington continues to win.
If I can give you the details on this
Gene
trade.
Washington at the podium on the trade.
Carolina has traded its 1st round pick, which is number 14 overall, their 6th round pick, which is number 199 overall, for the Jets' 1st pick, 25 overall, their 2nd pick, 59 overall, and their 5th pick, which is number 164 overall.
Well, it's pricey, but if you believe that these 2 corners, and I don't know how the Jets have rated ahead of who, if you believe that these are, well, Eric Mangini once upon a time was on a staff to coach Ty Law, okay? Leon Hall from Michigan's been compared to Ty Law. Darrelle Revis is another one that he thought would be probably gone at this point. If you believe that shutdown corners in a division where New England is not going to stop scoring points anytime soon, if you have that opportunity, you take it.
You know, to me, it's not unfathomable that Carolina was taking calls from New England and New York. and that they were both looking for the move up from the corner, and maybe that's the placing it. So who knows? It'd be interesting to see if that was going on, and then Eric Mangini said, we got to make this happen.
I would not doubt it. I'll tell you what's interesting, and Mel can explain it, the difference between Revis and Hall. Teams are split on these two guys, and a lot of teams lean toward Revis. Why?
Well, I think when we look at Revis 2 years ago, made a lot of big plays. This past year, quarterback stayed away from Darrelle Revis. He didn't have nearly as many opportunities to make plays in that secondary. Also has some punt return ability, at least during his career at Pitt. Look at that size. I think what made it happen for Darrelle Revis to move from a late one to a mid one is speed, recovery ability, catch-up speed, kind of 4.39, 40. Pretty good hands for the INT. As I said, a punt returner as well. So you know the ball skills and the hands are there. You see him here. This is a punt return late in the year against West Virginia that he took all the way for a touchdown. 85 yards for a touchdown here. But a guy in coverage, a sturdy kid from a size standpoint. And I really think that 4.39, 40. Here he is coming off the edge again, making a play in the backfield. I think when you look at a guy in coverage, hands for the interception. You have an opportunity to pick off a pass and get that turnover. They'll drop the football. And I think when you look at a guy like Darrelle Revis,
better ball skills
down with the interception.
Better ball skills than Hall?
No. I think when you look at Leon Hall had 18 pass breakups, has pretty great leaping ability, is a very productive player at Michigan. I think the difference with Leon Hall, people will say, well, he ran a 4.39, but does he have that ability? Does he translate that on game day to the kind of catch-up speed you need? Dwayne Jarrett got the best of Leon Hall, and also Teddy Ginn got the best of Leon Hall. So maybe that 4.39 tipped the scales to Revis. I personally would take Leon Hall, but Revis is right there.
I like Revis better, and watching these guys in skill position, I believe that playing against Hall is just not really there. I watched Dwayne Jarrett abuse him. I watched Ginn abuse him, and he struggled. He struggled against big-time receivers in college football. Now those are the guys that he's going to play against in the National Football League. Where the other guy, he did a pretty good job.
Well, one thing to think about Revis, and the Jets really aren't necessarily in the market for it. Revis is a big return man. They have Justin Miller do the Jets, but they're concerned with Justin Miller at the corner, not Justin Miller, the return man. So here's the trade. You swap one, so it costs you a 2, and then a 5 for a 6. So when you look at it that way, if indeed you're going to get a corner that you believe that two of these guys haven't come out together in a while, which is what some of my people are telling me, Mel, that two guys rated this high, I think that's what the Jets are thinking. You could say, well, wait a minute. Don't they need a tight end that could catch? Yeah, they could, but it's not going to be Olsen. They traded for Thomas Jones, so there's the change. Remember, Curtis Martin, who hasn't officially announced his retirement, will this summer. He's actually been helping them during the draft and stuff. Now, the Jets changed their roster dramatically last year. They changed to a 10-6 team. They made a wild card run, but now they're staring in the face the team that thumped them in the wild card game where they have to go, New England.
And thinking about the teams they moved ahead of, we talked Pittsburgh needed linebacker or corner. Ike Taylor needs to bounce back from a disappointing year last year. You have Cincinnati sitting there at 18. You got to feel pretty good that they're going to go corner, either Hall or Revis. So there's no way the Jets are going to land one of those two where they're picking. Too many teams in the cornerback mix between where we are right now and where the New York Jets were.
Let me just ask you one question. Okay, who's your next big pass rusher on the board? Harrell?
Well, I think as a guy that would fit, I think teams that
That's
are 3,
the only
4,
other
4,
name
3,
I'm going to throw.
Justin Harrell, certainly. Alan Branch is an interesting guy as a defensive tackle. Great physical prowess, but a guy who was an underachiever from a production standpoint. Only 25 tackles all of last year on a very good Michigan defensive line. So he's kind of the wild card, Harrell is, in terms of coming off an injury, that torn bicep. Branch is a wild card because he has all that talent and underachieved. So those two guys, and Grubbs had Harrell played all year and not gotten hurt early in the season, and had probably been off the board by now.
I mean, the Jets could use, as most teams want to have 7 guys up front, 7 or 8 guys. I don't know which of the corners is ahead of which. I got to think that's where they're going. And that's what these fans are thinking, is the Jets have about a minute to go. And think about this with the New York Jets, because we all of a sudden jumped on the team. It's the first time in a long time Chad Pennington is not rehabbing an injury in the offseason, Steve.
Right, they've got some stability there. And you mentioned the draft last year of the quarterback. They've got stability on offense, and now I think they're going to shore up the defense and get us. If they can play great, if you have a corner, a shutdown corner, you can play so many other defenses. If you can take one guy and take that guy away from the field, you play cover 4, you can cover 2, you can do a lot of stuff. You can't do it without a good corner.
I was just wondering why they were taking so long. You make a trade, you think you know what you're going to get.
It's your 15 minutes. Let the crowd come to life. Listen. Because they were asleep for 2 more hours. All of a sudden they woke up. They just had a double espresso up there.
Now, it's only 10 guys, though. It's not like it's packed with Jets fans. It's only 10 guys making all the noise.
Jet fans are loud fans, Keyshawn.
Yeah.
They're loud fans.
Good fans.
They're loud fans.
Good fans.
Let you know they're here.
They care about their football. Very passionate.
Let's see, we got Namath up there, Greg Bottle. We got, let's see, well, the pick is in. The Jets surprisingly on the clock, swapping ones with Carolina. You saw the rest of the trade. And here we go. First New York pick announced by the new commissioner. That looks like Joe Namath, doesn't it? 12.
Okay, Jet fans, with the 14th pick in the 2007 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Darrelle Revis, cornerback, Pittsburgh.
A quiet young man. We told you he returns, a fabulous athlete. Maybe in the aggressive part, Mel, not to Leon, but again, these were 1-2, 2-1 all along. I didn't know which one he had, but couldn't believe he had his choice. They might have debated these two in the 15 minutes for it.
In some of the mock drafts, they had Steelers taking Darrelle Revis for a bit, and they're picking right now.
Certainly they need a guy who could be that shutdown corner.
Well, they just got one.
So the Jet fans happy. The Pittsburgh Steelers on the clock next in a louder radio.
So DirecTV's got this super fan business that lets you watch 8 NFL games on one screen. In my day, you got one game. Your team was getting clobbered? Too bad. You took it like a man.
Sign up for NFL Sunday Ticket today and get Superfan for free.
Yeah, this head ball, coach. Hey, I told you he could really go.
What is up, Chad?
Get in the van.
All right, listen up, bro. My circle's gotta go.
Why? Being able to choose the people you call for free no matter what network they're on is great. Now we can all be friends.
We don't need more friends, so knock it off.
Okay?
Yeah, we'll have to do stuff.
Like what?
Something bad.
Yeah.
So what level Dungeon Master are you guys?
Dungeon Masters don't have levels.
Oh.
Dork.
It's time to get what you want from your wireless company. To find out more, take the head-to-head challenge.
Coach, would you agree it's a little hot in here for a mock turtleneck?
I wouldn't disagree with it. I wouldn't disagree with it.
Coach, my buddies tell me when it's this hot, nothing's more refreshing than a cold Coors Light.
You know something? They're right sometimes. More often than not, they're right.
Coach, doesn't this guy's hat look awesome backwards?
A lot of guys might not have reversed that.
Frost Brewed Coors Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
Did your place kicker make this onion dip?
It didn't look like he made it from where we were standing.
Now get all your favorites in one box. Introducing the new Variety Big Box from KFC. Popcorn chicken, a crispy strip, a drumstick, mashed potatoes, coleslaw, a biscuit, and a large drink. Fill up on all your favorites at KFC.
I'm Brady Quinn. He doesn't miss the target. You're watching the NFL Draft on ESPN.
Well, and we're still watching to see where Brady Quinn will go in this draft. Didn't go high to Cleveland at 3, didn't go high to Miami at 9, and now he's still on the board. Mort, you have some news on what might be happening?
Well, remember, the first team we thought would consider Brady Quinn seriously was the Cleveland Browns. As he has been sliding here, I'm hearing from teams that the Browns are calling up to see if they can get back into the first round, and the suspicion is to get back up there to take Brady Quinn. Now, that would take a lot, and Mel and I were just talking about this off camera. Remember, Baltimore once traded next year's #1 to get back up to get Kyle Bowler. Certainly, regardless of whether that worked out, it's a strategy that worked, certainly with Baltimore then. And Phil Savage, general manager of the Browns, as we know, was in Baltimore, so it's certainly something to watch for. We're hearing Cleveland is calling around to see if they get back into there.
They should. Now, Pittsburgh, remember now, this is for Chuck Noll and Bill Cowher, coaches for almost 40 years there. This is the Mike Tomlin era beginning as head coach. The Pittsburgh Steelers hope to have a healthy Ben Roethlisberger this year. And now they've sent their pick up. Joey Porter left for Miami. Obviously a big coaching change. At the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1 year removed from being the Super Bowl champs, now with the 15th pick off an 8-8 season, a team that was 7th in total offense and 9th in total defense. This is no real resurrection project. It's just, it's a team a year removed.
It's really about Ben Roethlisberger, right? At some point, the whole preseason is going to be talking about Ben Roethlisberger. Does he return to form? And what are the issues that will get him back to form with the accidents so forth last year? That'll be the question all the way to September.
Here's the new form starting right now.
With the 15th selection in the 2007 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Lawrence Timmons, linebacker, Florida State.
And this would be a direct replacement, Mel, for Joey Porter, who has stood out for so long with emotion in the locker room and the way he played on the field. Now a member of the Miami Dolphins. So here, you could add this one up pretty easily, right?
No question. This guy has been targeted for the Pittsburgh Steelers for the last couple months. You look at a guy who's ideal for a 3-4 defense. Mike Tomlin's going to commit to that 3-4. It's been the staple of the Pittsburgh Steelers all these years. And you look at Lawrence Timmons, attacks the line of scrimmage. You watch him, number 87, at his best, getting after the quarterback in that box area. We talked about the ability as a form tackler for Patrick Willis. It's the same thing you see there with number 83, Lawrence Timmons, a guy who was all over the field for really an underachieving Florida State football team this past year. 79 total tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, which led the team. He also broke up 6 passes. Very active, very alert football player who was a disruptive force in that backfield this year for Florida State. When you look at him size-wise, 6'1", 235, plays a little bigger than that, real strong in the upper body, 25 reps at the combine, 35-inch vertical. I think some teams would have liked to see him run a little better, ran like 4.66, 4.68 at the combine. They thought he'd be around 4.58, 4.59, but a guy who was productive on a Florida State team that frankly didn't get it done week to week. Now he made up for the loss of Ernie Sims, had a heck of a year, and for Pittsburgh, the one thing about Timmons, he can rush the passer, and for a 3-4 team, he should be ideal, Boom.
Well, first-round picks in recent years. Now, of course, this was Bill Cowher drafted with Kevin Colbert. Santonio Holmes were waiting on a little Heath Miller. Turned out to be a big cog. Roethlisberger, 27-4 out of the gates. Troy Polamalu, who he traded up to get in that 2003 draft. Kendall Sim, Casey Hampton. You would say their first-round hit list is pretty darn good. So this young man that played at Florida State, who's from Florence, South Carolina, now goes to the cold of Pittsburgh. We go to, it's springtime in Pittsburgh. It's not so cold. Rachel, Nick, Rachel.
Well, Boomer, there were a lot of people who thought the Steelers were gunning for Darrelle Revis, and I actually asked GM Kevin Colbert yesterday, what happens if the Jets, who have similar needs, trade up in front of you? Are you concerned about that? And he said no, he wasn't concerned at all. He actually felt that there were a group of players right here at this position that they could pick, and if one came off the board before another one, he could substitute pretty easily. Obviously, they felt very comfortable waiting for the linebacker, Lawrence Timmons. You guys mentioned Joey Porter, now in Miami, so this linebacking core is thin, and even if Lawrence doesn't start right away, he's definitely going to be able to bolster them. He's also going to fit in well with new head coach Mike Tomlin, who you remember comes from the defensive side of the ball. This is the first time in 15 years that the Steelers draft room has not had Bill Cowher in it. And I actually asked Colbert, I said, what have you noticed about working with Tomlin? He said, well, Tomlin isn't just tempted by talent, that he's really taken time in these interviews with these picks to talk to guys and find out, did the game find them because they were athletic and just happened to be good at football, or do they love the game of football? This new coach of the Steelers, he wants guys who love the game of football, and obviously they feel this kid from Florida State does. Boomer.
All right, Rachel, thank you very much. This is odd. Only the second time since the common draft, which is a long time, but the Steelers have taken a linebacker in the first round. Robin Cole, 1977, is the only other first-round linebacker until today with Timmons. You would think that that team would have had some pretty good linebackers by point.
But listen, Green Bay's on the clock right now. Okay. I don't want to totally dismiss the Packers as considering Brady Quinn. Think about it. Brett Favre, any year now. We know he's going to be taken off. Aaron Rodgers, yes, they like him, but they talked about Jay Cutler last year when they said they took A.J. Hawk, the linebacker from the Packers. So certainly the Packers, to me, would probably have a discussion, not anticipating that Quinn was going to be here. And oh, by the way, A.J. Hawk was their first-round pick last year, the linebacker from Ohio State. He's actually here today. He's Brady Quinn's brother-in-law. That would be ironic if Brady Quinn and A.J. Hawk ended up together.
And you're right, they did consider Jay Cutler last year. I think you look at Brady Quinn now, and you go back to 1984, Boomer Esiason. Steve Young had gone to the USFL. There's Boomer Esiason sitting there for the Bengals. They passed on him 3 times in the first round, took him in the early second, and turned out pretty good for the Cincinnati Bengals. I think you look at Brady Quinn, the ability he has in that Charlie Weiss offense to get the ball to start him back from a significant deficit in the second half. He had UCLA. The UCLA Bruins thought they had Notre Dame beat. 3 plays, 80 yards in the final minute. And remember that great USC team from a couple years ago with Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush? It took Reggie Bush to push Matt Leinart in the end zone to beat Notre Dame and Brady Quinn at South Bend.
Well, the Green Bay Packers, they won those last 4 games, and Favre beat the 49ers, and then he beat the 3 teams.
We're going to go all the way.
Wow, they're 8-8. So Brett returning for year number 17, a year in which he'll pass Dan Marino for most touchdown passes thrown in the history of football. Now, they were going to be different in the backfield because the blocking fullback, William Henderson, and their name running back, Amon Green, gone. Green, Houston. Points allowed, too many. 25th in the National Football League in points allowed last year. And so, the Green Bay Packers. All right, now okay, so the Green Bay Packers, though, each year we don't know if we're going to get Brett Favre is back for another season. What would you, as a receiver, think that, you know what, I'd love a chance to play with a guy like this. What would that have been like?
It's huge. I think if you're a wide receiver, you obviously always want to play with a guy like that. These quarterbacks come around in this league a dime a dozen, but a guy like Brett Favre don't come around a dime a dozen. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer, and he's going to move into the next level. And this pick, I think it's safe. I think it's a safe bet to say, go get the wide receiver Bo from LSU. Get a guy that can help Brett Favre try to build this team and move it into the next millennium for the next quarterback that they have on their roster.
Well, I think receivers are on their mind, but they can get them in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds. And we do have Randy Moss in play a little bit this weekend, with the Packers certainly paying some attention to Randy Moss. So I think they feel like they can get receivers later and maybe even trade for a Randy Moss.
But don't you think because Brett came back and his relationship with the coach, that they've kind of said to Brett, we won't